Police are one step closer to answers for the family of a man who was shot and stabbed to death in Leichhardt 8 years ago. One of his alleged killers has been arrested by Thai police and hauled back to Sydney to face a charge of murder.
This is a strange and complex story of murder and betrayal. A story of a ruthless and dangerous man who would do anything to protect himself and his interests in a world of drugs and violence. This is the story of Antonio Bagnato. Antonio, who also goes by the name Tony Bang, is a kickboxer and drug dealer from Sydney who fled to Thailand after committing a brutal murder. Though once in Thailand, he continued down the path of crime and destruction. As we focus on the complexities of Antonio's life and crimes, we get to know the harsh realities of transnational criminal networks and the justice across international borders. Antonio was a member of St. Michael's Fight Club in Sydney and was involved in a variety of criminal activities. The St. Michael's Christian Brothers Fight Club had a spiritual foundation but evolved to include rules and activities similar to that of outlaw motorcycle clubs. There was no hierarchical structure, though members had to adhere to a strict code of conduct. It was reported that members had to swear loyalty to the fight club, and they were not to have petty internal disputes or get into arguments over women. Antonio allegedly belonged to this society. The group used to hold battle nights and demanded their members take an oath of loyalty. It gained notoriety after Antonio's involvement in the murder of Hells Angels member Wayne Schneider in Thailand. Though, before we get into the murder of Wayne Schneider, we need to first understand the events which led to Antonio fleeing Australia. Just quickly, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing and liking this video. It really helps me out and helps the channel grow. In August 2014, Bradley Dillion, a 25-year-old father from Sydney, met his untimely demise due to a $2,000 debt that a man owed to his sister. Bradley's sister Cassie had lent money to her ex-boyfriend Adriano Riccio for him to go to rehab for his drug addiction. However, Adriano decided he wasn't going to pay her back. Bradley was resolute about recovering the debt and asked Antonio and Antonio's cousin Diego Carbone, who was a former member of St. Michael's Fight Club, to help him with recovering the money. In a very strange turn of events, the cousins decided not to help Bradley because Adriano Riccio was a member of St. Michael's Fight Club. On August 11th, 2014, Bradley received a cryptic text message saying "car park below tab." He thought he'd finally received the money. Unbeknownst to Bradley, this message was a deadly invitation. Diego Carbone and Antonio Bagnato orchestrated an ambush. They lay in wait for Bradley in an underground car park in the Sydney suburb of Leichhardt. The men suddenly attacked Bradley as he descended the car park stairs. He endured multiple stab wounds and 3 gunshots from a 9mm Glock. Desperate and wounded, Bradley fled towards the car park ramp. One bullet hit him in the ankle and left through the instep of his foot, while another bullet struck him in the back. Despite his injuries, Bradley managed to stagger onto Lord's Road, where he collapsed and sadly died. Witnesses saw 2 figures fleeing the car park shortly afterwards. Crown Prosecutor Richard Herbst implicated both Diego Carbone and Antonio Bagnato in the murder. Although it remains unclear which of them wielded the gun or the knife, which were never found, the prosecution argued they had an agreement to harm or kill Bradley Dillion. Days after the murder, Antonio fled to Thailand, though this didn't impact the case against Diego Carbone. During the court hearing, the court heard Diego Carbone was a heavy user of the drug ice, and the psychologist found he falls within the category which is almost at the very lowest percentile in terms of IQ. In a handwritten note tendered to the court, Carbone said he was innocent of the murder, by God as my witness. Diego Carbone was found guilty of murdering Bradley Dillion by a jury at the New South Wales Supreme Court in October 2017. Carbone was sentenced to a minimum of 21 years in jail for his participation in the murder. He faced a second trial in December 2021 and was found guilty again. Justice Peter Garling of the New South Wales Supreme Court confirmed that Diego Carbone had made a deal with his cousin Antonio Bagnato to inflict serious damage on Mr. Dillon. While in Thailand, Antonio set up a gym, though he also continued with his criminal activities. However, his continuous involvement with gangs and drugs led to the murder of Wayne Schneider. Wayne Schneider began his criminal activities as a methamphetamine manufacturer and later joined the Hells Angels motorcycle club in Sydney. In 2006, he was accused of shooting a bouncer outside a nightclub, and in 2012, he relocated to Pattaya and established a vast drug trafficking network. Police suspect the confiscation of 2 tons of MDMA and nearly 1 ton of methamphetamine in a $1.5 billion narcotics bust was linked to the Hells Angels, Comanchero and Wayne Schneider. The murder of Wayne Schneider was the result of a complex web of criminal activities and personal conflicts. Wayne's involvement in organised crime and his close connections to criminal networks likely played a role in the events that unfolded. Antonio was Wayne's business partner and bodyguard, and was also part of Wayne's criminal activities. Wayne owned stakes in the boxing gym opened by Antonio in Thailand, though it's believed that disputes relating to their business dealings and financial matters led to tensions between the two. Debts, rivalries, and disagreements over money can escalate quickly in criminal circles, and it's possible that such issues contributed to the conflict. Wayne was suspected of being involved in a large-scale drug importation ring operating between Europe and Australia. The drug trade by nature is dangerous and highly competitive. Those involved can quickly resort to violence to protect their interests or settle scores. While the murder itself was not directly related to a drug deal, the backdrop of drug-related suspicions likely added to the overall tension. In 2015, the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club established a new chapter in the Thai resort town of Pattaya. The club quickly became a major player in the local underworld, involved in drug trafficking, extortion, and violent turf wars with other criminal organisations. Initially, Antonio worked as Wayne's bodyguard. He eventually left to establish his own gang. Following a series of commercial disputes, Antonio and 4 accomplices kidnapped Wayne from his home in Pattaya, taking him to Antonio's residence. It's reported that Wayne was bound to a chair where he was killed through physical abuse before his body was buried, as Antonio sought to expand the St. Michael's Fight Club's association to organised crime in Thailand. Wayne Schneider's naked body, covered in wounds, blood and ligature marks, was found buried in a shallow grave in the nearby province of Sattahip the next day. In the aftermath of Wayne's murder, Thai authorities launched a crackdown on the Hells Angels and other motorcycle clubs operating in the country. Antonio was arrested in Cambodia shortly after the murder and extradited to Thailand. Antonio's role in planning the murder of Wayne Schneider in 2015 was revealed during a New South Wales inquest. A witness appeared before the New South Wales Crime Commission and provided a statement about the St. Michael's Fight Club. The witness stated that someone claiming to be a member of the club approached and intimidated him after the murder. The witness said, "I did not anticipate anything negative, but following Schneider's death, I discovered it was more than just a fight club. It was also associated with shady characters, narcotics and other things." On November 30th, 2015, security officers at Wayne Schneider's Pattaya home spotted masked persons transferring him into a car. At the subsequent investigation at the coroner's court, acting state coroner Teresa O'Sullivan formally confirmed Wayne's death as blunt force trauma to the head, resulting in a murder. Detective Sergeant Paul Rowe offered further information, describing Antonio's hiring of 4 men to assault Wayne over a debt. During the assault, Antonio kept Wayne under restraint, as another assaulted him with a baton and others attacked him with knuckle dusters. Wayne was then taken to another site hired by Antonio, where he was likely subjected to more abuse while confined to a stainless steel medical chair, according to his security guard. According to Detective Sergeant Paul Rowe, there was a good chance Wayne was still alive when he arrived at Antonio's rental property. The perpetrators allegedly left Wayne unattended before returning to find him dead. To conceal their crime, they looted Wayne, disposed of his clothes, and buried his body. Thai police used an unconventional approach to identify the body. They photographed it using cell phones. Also, some reports said that the murder was either not pre-planned or the burial was not pre-planned, as the grave had been dug in a hurry. Although New South Wales police were first unaware that Wayne's remains had been deported, they learnt of the funeral in Sydney in December 2015. Apart from Antonio, another suspect of the murder was Luke Cook. He was also a former Hells Angel. Thai police allege that Luke Cook received $15 million from Wayne to purchase and store drugs for further shipments to Australia. However, it's reported Wayne demanded his money back after a failed operation. Luke Cook was implicated in Wayne's murder, resulting in him receiving a suspended sentence for his role in the crime. Luke also admitted to driving Antonio to the Cambodian border as he fled Thai police. Several years later, in December 2017, Luke Cook and his wife were arrested at Bangkok International Airport. Thai courts sentenced the pair to death after they were accused of picking up $300 million worth of crystal meth from a Chinese trawler in international waters and bringing it back to Thailand to smuggle to Australia. After being found in Cambodia and extradited to Thailand, the Thai courts convicted Antonio for the kidnapping and murder of Wayne Schneider. Antonio, who was 28 at the time, appeared in court in ankle chains and handcuffs before a packed Pattaya criminal court to receive the judgment. Family members sobbed as the sentence for kidnapping, assault and deliberate murder were revealed. Antonio was sentenced to death for his part in the crime. One of his family members said they have hearts and their hearts are hurting at the harsh decision. The judge used evidence presented by the guards at the residence where Wayne was kidnapped. DNA evidence tied Antonio and another person, Tyler Gerard, to Wayne's assault. The 22-year-old US citizen, Tyler Gerard, was found guilty of violation of liberty. He admitted to being involved in Wayne's murder, as well as driving a rental Toyota pickup truck used in the murder. Because of his cooperation with the police, Tyler's sentence was lowered from 3 years to 2 years in prison. As his family grieved, he told them not to care about him, but the other people sitting there in the court. The case garnered significant attention due to its connections to motorcycle gang activity and the tragic loss of life. The murder charge against Antonio was rejected in December 2018. Instead, he received a 3-year term for assault. In July 2022, Antonio was extradited from Thailand to Australia and was charged with the murder of Bradley Dillion. He was escorted on the flight from Bangkok by detectives and arrived in Sydney International Airport before he was transferred to Mascot Police Station. Homicide Squad Commander Detective Superintendent Danny Doherty said the man's extradition to Australia follows years of behind-the-scene work by detectives. Today's result could not have been achieved without the ongoing support and assistance from our international law enforcement partner agencies, particularly the Royal Thai Police and the Australian Federal Police. Bradley was a father who was senselessly murdered, and the simple fact is that if you engage in that sort of violent behaviour, police will always track you down and hold you accountable. Antonio Bagnato led a life filled with crime and violence, from his involvement in the St Michael's Fight Club in Sydney to orchestrating the murders of Bradley Dillion and Wayne Schneider in Thailand. While Antonio awaits his fate in prison, his story serves as a stark reminder for the enduring impact of organised crime and the importance of international cooperation in combating it. For now, this brings us to the end of the case. Let me know what you think below in the comments. And as always, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Till next time, take care.